Mr. Jing Hanchao from the Central Political and Judicial Commission, Mr. Zhang Shuyuan from SPC, and Mr. Chen Guoqing from SVP, Mr. Du Hangwei from MPS, and Mr. Xiong Xuanguo from Ministry of Justice. Now, first, let's give the floor to Mr. Xiong Xuanguo. Good morning. Since the outbreak of the epidemic of COVID-19, and the Central Party Committee, chaired by General Secretary Xi Jinping, have attached great importance to it, and the General Secretary has been hosting multiple meetings and have given important remarks and made important instructions. That has been a great guidance to the prevention control of this epidemic. The central political and judicial authorities have been carrying out the important instructions of General Secretary, and after careful study, the Central Political and Judicial Commission worked with the SPC, the SPP, the MPS, and the MOJ have made and compiled the opinions on political and judicial authorities' work in guiding production resumption during PNC of COVID-19, according to which the cadres in these authorities must learn and study carefully the instruction of General Secretary Xi Jinping and coordinate the action with the central instructions and strengthen the four awarenesses, the four competences, and realize the two protections and safeguards, so that we can shoulder our responsibility in this prevention control of COVID-19 and the restoration of production. We need to find the pinpoint in order to make sure that the business can resume their production in an orderly fashion, and orders of the society and economy can be properly protected. And we will provide judicial and legislative guarantee for work in this regard. Currently, many enterprises began to restore their production, and legal issues might arise during this process. And we have to act upon and according to the relevant legislations and laws, and continue to optimize the codes and laws, and strengthen the implementation and execution of the laws, and provide high-quality public services. And 12 measures were raised accordingly. So there are three characteristics to these opinions. There will be our three priorities in work. First is to attach importance to the law-based principles. We are now at a critical juncture in terms of prevention control, so we have to do everything according to the law.
Aiming at the law enforcement and judicial issues that have occurred or are likely to occur in the prevention and control of epidemics and resumption of production in accordance with the basic spirit, basic principles, and basic provisions of laws and regulations such as the criminal procedure law and public security management penalty law. We will further refine and clarify the judicial standards and procedures for law enforcement, and ensure that epidemic control and resumption of production will operate along the right track of rule of law. Second, it highlights a problem-oriented and targeted approach, aiming at the new situation, new problems faced in the epidemic control and resumption of production work, including the return of employees, and particularly the urgent need for legal services and support. We will guide political and legal authorities at all levels and officers to further improve the level of public services, implement law enforcement measures that truly benefit the general public. The third is to highlight precise guidance and focus on the legitimacy of measures. The opinion emphasizes precision law enforcement that cracks down crimes on the one hand, while showing care on the other hand. We will differentiate the different situations as legal offenses, crimes, and common disputes between enterprises and civilians, and adopt stringent law enforcement and judicial policies and strategies while observing the limits of laws and policies, and exercise stringent or lenient law enforcement as appropriate. And we will do more persuasion work to show care and avoid excessive and violent law enforcement. We need to show our strength and our care at the same time. Thank you. Now, the floor is open for questions. Please identify yourselves before asking your question. Thank you. With CCTV, my question is this. Regarding legal offenses and crimes of hoarding, price raising, and robbery that undermine epidemic control and resumption of production work, what are the specific stipulations in the opinion, and the People's Court what measures will the People's Court take, and what measures will the Ministry of Public Security take? Well, thank you for your question. In the extraordinary period of epidemic control, resumption of production work of enterprises need legal guarantee all the more. The Supreme People's Court need to earnestly implement General Secretary Xi Jinping's important instructions regarding the coordination of epidemic control and economic and social developments, fully leverage our trying function, and provide strong judicial support for the resumption of work. Regarding the crimes that undermine epidemic control and resumption of work, the opinion has specific stipulations. The Supreme People's Court will do the following. The first is to severely punish crimes that hinder the prevention and control of epidemics and resumption of work. Based on the criminal law and relevant judicial interpretations, as well as the opinion issued by the Court, Procuratorial, Ministry of Public Security, and Ministry of Justice. On the 10th of February, regarding the legal offenses and crimes that undermine the epidemic control, we will handle legal offenses and crimes that disrupt medical, epidemic control, market, and social orders, and severely punish the crimes that disrupt traffic and logistic order, strictly punish the crimes that involves counterfeit, substandard, and shoddy medical products, as well as illegal commercial operation crimes involving hoarding and price raising, so as to ensure
and make sure the smooth resumption of production. Since the outbreak, the Hubei province, Jiangsu, and Shandong province basic courts have deliberated and handled many cases related to the epidemic, which is important as to safeguard the orders during the special time. And second, we have to identify boundaries as to the law. The People's Court have to act according to the criminal law and other interpretations and other judicial interpretations, and carry out the accurate enforcement of the law and handle the cases according to the law, so that the criminal deeds can be punished, and the production resumption can be ensured, and the legitimate interest of the business can be protected. We also need to take protective measures and to crack down the illegal assets as well as bank accounts. For the enterprises, capital that is involved in the case, principally, they will not be withheld or frozen. We also need to take decisive measures in terms of the law enforcement. Cracking down of crimes is the whole responsibility of the Public Security Authority. Since the outbreak, public security authorities of all levels have been acting according to the instruction of General Secretary Xi Jinping and important deployment of the Central Party Committee. And we need to fight the epidemic as well as safeguard the safety of the society and the people. So we need to, on the one hand, carry out the prevention, help with the prevention control of the epidemic, but also have to make sure that the social orders are stable. So during this outbreak of the epidemic, many heroic deeds were emerged during this epidemic. We have 49 people who have sacrificed their lives during the work and prevention control of this epidemic. Many lost their lives during the cracking down of criminal deeds. This opinion that we are about to issue also stressed the criminal act that hinders the production resumption and prevention control. The public security authorities will act according to these opinions in cracking down the criminal acts and in a strict manner. Especially, we would punish those who hinders the medical processes and the behaviors that hinders the market order and social orders, as well as illegal hunting and dealing of wildlife, and as well as other criminal acts. As of the 24th, we have altogether cracked down 22,000 cases and have effectively cracked down the criminal acts and have effectively safeguarded the life and security of the people. In order to win this battle against the epidemic and create a stable social environment, for example, how to address the shortage of masks, there are many criminal acts that takes advantage of this shortage of the masks. So there are people that made counterfeit masks in a legal way that hurt the interest of the people. The Public Security Ministry also attached great importance to it and carry out zero tolerance to such crimes. And we carry out the most severe punishment to illegal illegal actions. We also encourage the people to report criminal acts and do screening ourselves and to discover these cases in time so as to implement the measures. And we have cracked down major cases involving such illegal behaviors. As of now, we have altogether cracked down 688 cases involving the production of counterfeited masks and other protective behaviors. That the total counterfeit products amount to more than 100 million yuan. Coming up, the judicial and political authorities will continue to act according to the instructions of the Central Party Committee and carry out the penalties on the illegal behaviors according to the guidance of the opinions. And the public security will help the relevant authorities to crack down crimes and ensure high level and high quality services to the businesses. We'll also crack down other illegal doings. For example, hoarding, counterfeiting goods, as well as the price gouging behaviors. We will make efforts to ensure the legal operation and protect the legitimate rights and interests of the businesses. With Guangming Daily, the Procuratorial cannot provide the business with the policy support as well as supporting funds. So what would you do to protect the legitimate rights of the businesses in production resumption? We are mainly will be in charge of the legal responsibilities, the Procuratorial, as well as filing of cases. So the Procuratorial Commission will act according to the opinions and guard against these illegalities in this prevention control of the COVID-19, and have identified the borders, the legal borders, and create a favorable judicial environment for the prevention control. In our work, we have to carry out this to identify the clear borders between illegal acts as well as the infringement of relevant laws. And for the criminal acts, we need to take into considerations of the subjective factors and to handle these cases according to the law. Second, we need to use forceful measures in a prudent way. When handling these cases, we will try our best to not use forceful measures such as the limit of personal mobility, as well as the freeze up of the relevant capitals. And we will use the forceful measures in a prudent and careful measures for the business owners during the trial time. We will carry out a review, a judicial review in a timely fashion, and we will also be carrying out this matter according to this law for 7 enterprises and 12 business owners in Shenzhen province. We have changed our measures from detain to
这个第3个方面呢，就是要充分发挥检察机关的法律监督作用，在认真的履行刑事检察办案进行这个刑事的立案、侦查、审判。
We would also
要协同的推进民事行政、公益诉讼检察工作。
also push forward the implementation of the civil laws, and in order to guarantee the restoration of the enterprises in this prevention and control period. We will also be giving opinions to guide the restoration in terms of the civil cases and civil laws. For the deeds that hinders the restoration of the production, we will urge them to correct these behaviors. For the other cases involving the provision of masks and other protective gears, we have to carry out the responsibilities of legal supervision. With China Daily, my question goes to the Ministry of Justice. So during this epidemic, especially in terms of the restoration of production, what role does the hotline and the online platform of the MOJ play in this regard? General Secretary Xi Jinping, in the 3rd meeting of the prevention control of the COVID-19, pointed out that the Ministry of Justice have established the website on legal service as well as the hotline of 12348 in order to help the general public to seek legal guidance as well as legal consultancy. As of February the 24th, our website altogether have received 4,195 legal consult cases, including labor dispute, civil dispute, and rights infringement, and debt liabilities, and other legal issues. With the resumption of production, there is an increasing number of legal consults involving contract dispute. Including leasing contract and the purchase of housing. In terms of leasing, it involves the extension of contract, the expel of contract, and the return of the rent if they want to stop the leasing contract. In terms of the purchase and selling of houses, it mainly involves the price surges and other relevant disputes. We provide them with in-time consult. Currently, our website can give them a reply in 66 minutes in average, and the satisfaction rate is about 95%. During the prevention control period in Hubei province, our hotline of 12348 provide 24/7 services, that is all day, all week. And in Guangdong province, we received on average 100 calls concerning the prevention control related cases on a daily basis. So we answer to the calls of the people in time and in order to better protect their legitimate rights. The Ministry of Justice and its affiliate website, as well as the legal service website, have set up a special column on the prevention and control and legal matters. In order to provide legal counsel and also publicize the epidemic-related knowledge. During this special time, we have also issued the Q&A of the legal matters during the COVID-19 epidemic prevention control that have listed some of the most frequent matters or problems that occur during the prevention control of the disease. For some of the legal acts, such as illegal travels or the price gouging acts, we have also issued relevant stipulations and measures to further interpret the existing laws and regulations. We have also organized special educational campaigns, and use new media and new technologies so as to make sure that the general public can have a better knowledge of the relevant information. We have compiled relevant laws, regulations, and they have been made into e-copies so that all the people can have free access to it online. We also pushed relevant information through text in order to inform people of the relevant knowledge related to laws and regulations, and make sure that the grassroots levels, the rural areas, all have access to these information online. This way, people can have a better understanding of the relevant knowledge and information concerning the laws.
谢谢。封面新闻记者提问。我们注意到近来个别地区出现的一些粗暴执法的现象。
We've taken notice that there are some disputes concerning this illegal law enforcement or violent law enforcement in Henan and in Chongqing. So, how do you prevent such a violent law enforcement act from happening? It is true that such behaviors do exist. The public security authorities have been pushing forward and advancing the civil act in terms of law enforcement in order to improve our quality of law enforcement. However, faced with the outbreak, in some localities, in order to cut the transmission path, especially in some of the most affected areas, many forceful measures were taken. These are effective measures, but there are some cases when people cannot go out, anxiety and panic emotions might emerge, and they will not understand such strict measures of control. During this, some public security authorities also have these behaviors involving violent and over law enforcement. We also issue documents and ask for correction and guide the police forces to carry out legal as well as civil law enforcement act. The public security authorities made multiple statements asking for such behaviors to halt. That is the simple and violent law enforcement act. Coming up, the public security authorities will guide the law enforcement authorities of all levels to act according to the opinions that we have just mentioned. We need to stick to people-centered concept and to increase this soft law enforcement and mild ways of enforcement in order to reduce the existing contradictions and improve the law enforcement efficiencies. We need to take into full consideration the challenges of the enterprises as well as the demand of the workers. We need to have clear boundaries in terms of law enforcement in order to overexpand law enforcement range and oversimplification of law enforcement. We need to guard against illegal acts and violent acts and malpractices during law enforcement that hinders the production, resumption of the businesses But for the criminal acts, the public security will continue to crack down them in a strict manner. For those cases that borderlines the gray area, we need to carry out the measures, mainly educational measures. Would also help the relevant departments to carry out public security patrols and handling of the police report and ease the emotions, the panic emotion of the public, and use civil languages and conduct peaceful and orderly and law enforcement.
谢谢。中国新闻社的记者提问。我们注意到了，意见中明确，要。
According to the opinions, it has clearly stipulated that we shouldn't be using randomly the forceful measures. So my question goes to the SPC as to the specific implementation of such an opinion. We need to take prudent measures as to the violent or forceful enforcement. For the SPP, as I have mentioned, that during trials we need to prevent such measures from happening. And also, in terms of the enforcement of the massive civil and business cases. On February the 3rd, we have issued a special notice guiding the civil law enforcement measures during trials. If the detaining of relevant assets will hinder the restoration of production for businesses, the courts of all levels should take into consideration the protection of legitimate rights and take the measures that will affect the production to the minimum extent. When detaining these properties of the enterprises, we need to take flexible measures. If the enterprises are in difficulty, we should help the enterprises with the restoration and guarantee the capital flow. We should help the businesses to overcome the difficulties of their time and take full considerations of the current difficulties. For example, we should prioritize the health and security of the business owners. And when handling such massive number of cases, People's Court of all levels should also use online platforms to realize online filing, online opening of the courts, and provide non-contact legal services.
下个提问，来第200这位女士。
谢谢南方都市报记者提问。我们关注到，原来已经趋降的新冠肺炎疫情新增病例，在近来的通报数据当中又出现了反弹，都是因为
we see an rebound of the number of confirmed cases due to the transmission in prisons in some localities. So how do these places prevent the further transmission? I think that question is somewhat unrelated to the subject matter we're discussing today, but it is indeed a matter of public concern. So I will give my reply. As of the 25th of February, we have this kind of group transmission cases in 5 prisons in 3 provinces. In Hubei, Zhejiang, Shandong. The total confirmed cases amount to 555. 19 suspected cases and 4 severe cases. As of now, there's no death cases. Besides these 5 prisons, no prisoners, other prisoners have been identified as a confirmed case. In terms of the transmission in the prison system, the current cases have reflected that our management and prevention control in the prison have shown some loopholes. First is that there is a problem with the lack of attention. For example, the Yuzi prison in Wuhan. It is about 100 meters away from one of the designated hospitals. That is the Lung Hospital of Wuhan. And it's very close to this hospital in geographical location. Before the total close down of the hospital, it is possible that the virus may spread to this prison. Second, we need to further tighten our management. For example, the 3 prisons in Hubei, Shandong, and Zhejiang. The spreading of the virus inside these prisons is due to the unfaithful report of some of the policemen and police officers, because they might have contact with the Hubei returnees, but they did not report such a situation and information, and did not carry out timely quarantine so as to become an imported case. And in turn cause the transmission inside prison system. This is because of the lack of awareness, the loose administration, and the ineffective implementation and prevention control measures and there is a problem with formalism and bureaucracy involved. We have already taken decisive measures in terms of accountability. There are very important lessons that we have learned. The prison systems in this country will continue to act according to the important remarks and instructions by the General Secretary, and strengthen awareness in the prison system, because this is a severe and complex and important matters that is faced with us. We should also tighten our control measures and construct accountability mechanism so as to prevent the loopholes in the administration and curb the further spreading of the virus in the prison system. At the same time, we also need to improve our treatment measures. Once there's a prisoner that experiences fever or other respiratory syndrome, we need to carry out quarantine measures in time. For the confirmed cases, they need to be treated like other people in society and give them the much needed medical treatment. Currently, we have one severe case that has turned to mild case after treatment. There are already 11 patients that have been discharged. Last two questions. From Legal Daily, when handling cases, how do the procuratorial authorities play an important function in terms of the identifying of the criminal cases? This is a new litigation system since the revision of the litigation law in order to reduce the burdens. So this for people who have faithfully confessed their cases, we should carry out this leniency. During this special period of time, the procuratorial authorities, when handling these cases involving criminal acts, we will carry out the strict and leniency and balance this strict enforcement and the leniency for this in-time confession. We will be more graceful and lenient in terms of in terms of judgment. We will also act that procuratorate of all levels can punish the law, the illegal actions in time, while carry out leniency when the cases is required. With Economic Daily, My question is, in terms of the restoration of production, if the migrant workers are seeking legal help, what kind of platforms should they refer to? The General Secretary Xi Jinping have also identified and have pointed out that for the vulnerable groups, we should provide with them the in-time legal aids. The Ministry of Justice issued several documents including the notice of for the Judicial Department to play a bigger role in providing legal services, and the notice on ensuring the wage of the migrant workers, as well as the notice on legal service guidance in order to guide the law enforcement authorities and the lawyers and other legal workers to carry out their work responsibilities during this special time and provide the vulnerable groups with much needed legal aids. First, we call for online services and consult. We ask for in-time guidance to lead these people into using the website as well as our hotlines and WeChat account, as well as applications. These are online resources that you can make use of when you're seeking legal consult or aids. In Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Shandong, and Sichuan provinces, they're providing legal consult and registration through online platforms. And the cases are handled on the day it was reported, and the materials will be transferred to relevant authorities in time. The legal service website has opened up a great channel for migrant workers. Since January the 19th, we have received 4,400 cases concerning wage dispute and 229 cases concerning labor disputes. Currently, for the lawyers that handles such cases, we also conduct long-distance video conferences to provide the defendant with the legal counsel that they need. Second is to strengthen the legal aid to the general public. There are some information that cannot be filed online. So we will do this through appointments.
有些甚至我们紧急情况，我们采取上门服务。
In emergencies, we also would conduct this personal
我们
visits.
开通预设通道，
We also open up grant channels
申请
if the
当天
materials
授予
have to
当天指
be
派，尽量的简化
handed
审批手
over
续。对于
through
有些特殊
person.
情况，你像诉
And
讼
we
时
also
效
have streamlined
这个
these
即将届满
processes.
有些需要立即采取
For some
诉讼
special
保全这些
cases,
措施
for
的，
example,
我们先行
when
地
the litigation
为诉
time
愿
is about to
提
end,
供法律援助。
we also provide them with the much needed
第
legal
三个方
support.
面呢，就是适当放宽经济困难审查标
Third,
准。
We would loosen up some of the
疫情防控相
review
关
standard in terms of
申请支付
economic matters.
劳动报酬、确认劳动关系，还有工伤赔偿，像这些法律援助的，
For some legal matters
我们有些
concerning the payment as well as a lenient period for wage payment,
放宽
in
到
some provinces, such as Shandong,
最低工资标准。有些呢是因为疫
they
情
have carried out the minimum
无法
wage
提供
mechanisms. Due
这
to
个
the
困难证
epidemic,
明，
some of
那么
the
对这些职工，
some people
我
cannot
们呢采取
provide
书面承诺，
the
书面承
the
诺的方
economic
式来
difficulty
申请。
proof, and these needs can be filed through
还有一些因为疫情原因
formal applications.
造成了企业的关停减员，
Due to the epidemic, there are also enterprises that have to close down their business
等等这些原
and
因，
stop the wage
导致
of the
这个群众生活困难的，
employees.
我们呢积极和相关部门研究。建立
We're
信息
also
共享
negotiating with the relevant departments to build an information sharing platform and coordinated mechanism
审查经济困难的人员防卫。
so as to review the situation of the people that have encountered difficulties in terms of their economic
法会到此
condition.
结束，谢谢5位发布人，谢谢各位
That's
记
the
者
end
朋友
for today's press conference. Thank you all for participating.